Hey guys, Ponce here on the PBE, here to talk to you guys about some items which received major overhauls in the 2016 preseason series of updates. Now note that there are a lot of items which received changes, and if I were to go over everyone, this video would take like 6 million years. I take way too long with these videos anyway, just talking about like 3 items or something. So yeah, note that there's a lot of minor changes, but I won't be going over those. I'm here to mainly talk about 2 items, but before I do that, there are some items like medium changes, which I'll at least, show you guys. I don't want to talk about them too much. For example, like when I say medium change, I mean stuff like Hextech Gunblade doesn't have Lifesteal or Spell Vamp on it anymore. It does like a heal for 15% of damage dealt, so it's like it's basically any kind of damage you deal is just like a pure sort of Spell Vamp kind of thing. So there's that. Aside from that, there's things like, Rage Blade. So it now has a passive called Gwinsu's Rage, so it's more about getting the items stacked up and dealing a whole bunch of damage, and it gives like this little AoE on-hit effect, and it scales. As opposed to that weird, when you're below 50% HP passive mechanic thing, like that doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, to get to the actual point of this, right now, for example, Phantom Dancer is disabled on the PB. I'm on the public test run right now, obviously. So there's a bunch of new stuff going on with this. It costs 100 gold less, so I believe on live it's currently like 2,800, I think. Now it gives like crappier base stats, but the passive general, I'll just read them off. Spectre Waltz. While within 500 units of an enemy champion, you can see 12% movement, 12% movement speed, and you can move through units. So basically, you get a bonus movement speed thing when there's people nearby, but it's not, it won't work versus, for example, stealth champions. You can't, it's not like a free, Shaco's wandering around near me kind of thing. So just there's that. Now, that's a kind of, of course, and here's the more important part, Lament. The last champion hit deals 15% less damage to you, ends after 10 seconds of not hitting them. So there's sort of a defensive component to this item now, which is quite neat. I imagine it's probably still going to be mostly an AD carry item. It's just kind of one of those, well, this guy keeps jumping me. This guy specifically, he deals a lot of damage. I just need a little bit of survivability against him. So it's a sort of a way to, it's a way to mitigate damage. And 12% is quite a bit. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's AFK warning. Let's move around a bit so we don't get that anymore. So, yeah, aside from AD carries, I'm wondering what other kinds of champions this might work on. I was thinking, maybe assassin types this might be okay with, but then you have to realize, assassins typically, their form of mitigation is not like actual mitigation. The way assassins mitigate damage is they don't sit there and deal with people forever. They kill the person before they can deal any damage back. That's how they mitigate damage. But, that's not exactly all of them work. So I'm just kind of sitting here wondering, maybe something like Tryndamere might work with, like a duelist kind of short range or melee range champion type that gets crit anyway. So I'm wondering if that might work, stuff like that. Of course, Tryndamere has all kinds of stuff he wants to prioritize in terms of items, so I don't know. It's just something to kind of think over. Maybe you guys have some ideas out there. Now, probably, again, the most important item I want to talk about here today is Essence Reaver, because this thing is crazy good now. I just find it kind of funny that Essence Reaver went from basically one of the worst items in the game to what looks like to me one of the better items in the game. Now, of course, when I say things like that, I'm sure the comments, there'll be a couple people in there, these die-hard Essence Reaver fans. It's like, what are you talking about? The Essence Reaver is the greatest thing ever. I always build it on Ezreal. And I'm just not going to respond to those. Now, granted, Essence Reaver is okay in certain niche situations. It's not the worst item all the time. But let's get, let's be honest about it here. This Essence Reaver right here it's a work of art. This is something. 65 attack damage, 20% critical strike chance, passive 10% cooldown reduction. Now here's the important part here, guys. Gain up to 20% additional cooldown reduction equal to your critical strike chance from other sources. So yeah, if you get 20%, it won't stack on itself. So it's not going to get 30% cooldown reduction based off its own critical strike. But let's say you buy a Phantom Dancer, or not a Phantom Dancer. Let's get what's that item called? Infinity Edge. So Infinity Edge, currently on the public test round, gives 20% critical strike chance. That will cap out the amount of cooldown reduction you can get on this item. So Phantom Dancer plus Infinity Edge gives you 30% cooldown reduction. It's like it strikes me as quite weird, since Riot always, well, it hasn't always, but I mean in the past it's talked about how it doesn't really want to trivialize the cooldown reduction stat, and it's just it's like it's a bit of more of an important choice. But basically you get Essence Reaver and then cooldown reductions taken care of, especially if you get Trinity Force. Because look at this. Not Trinity Force, Trinity Force. Okay, so Trinity Force gives currently on public test job. And this item's been another one where I'm talking about where it was like medium-sized changes. But on PvE currently it gives 20% cooldown reduction, or 20% critical strike chance and 10% cooldown reduction. So between Trinity Force and Essence Reaver, that is straight up 40% cooldown reduction. So yeah, that's something. Now obviously this is kind of still, again, sort of a no-brainer sort of thing on AD carries. Some obviously do better with it than others. For example, as I should mention, critical strike restore 3% of your maximum mana pool. Let's just quickly do the mana on that. Or not the mana, the math on that. So, for example, if you have a sort of a very modest mana pool of 800 or whatever, then you times that by 0.03 for 3%. So basically, every time you critical strike, you're getting 24% mana back, or 24 mana back. So not the greatest thing ever, but it's something, I suppose, especially if you're critting a lot.
There's a chill in the air.
So yeah, obviously certain AD carries do better with it. For example, Lucian would do quite well with it. I built it on Graves, which is quite nice, since a lot of his damage comes from just using abilities, and his passive goes off when he uses E, so he gets to dash around more and stuff like that. So any champion that kind of is more reliant on their abilities is great on, but in general, like most AD carries, you're not going to say no to straight up free 30 or 40% cooldown reduction. So it's pretty cool. More interesting though, perhaps. So if I get caught on words, by the way, guys, I have a rather large cut in my mouth because I bit it while eating the other day, and it's painful and a bit difficult to speak. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what's going on here. Back to the items. I'm kind of wondering what this might be good on that's not an AD carry. Like off the top of my head, purely like something like Gangplank, it seems like it'd be quite good with, since he likes crit anyway. He's going to be getting stuff like Trinity Force or what's that item again? Why do I keep forgetting what the Infinity Edge, the name Infinity Edge? But anyway, Infinity Edge, stuff like that. Cooldown reduction, while not a major priority on him, it certainly wouldn't say no to that. Just continuously popping people in the head with his with his handgun. See, this is what I mean. It's almost like when you give people free access to cooldown reduction, no one is ever going to say no to that. It's just like, you might not prioritize it, but it's just always pretty much good on anyone, except like Rumble. I guess cooldown reduction can be bad on Rumble. But yeah, I don't know. It's sort of interesting. I'm wondering what else might be good. Like Gangplank seems like sort of the very obvious answer, but I don't know. There's probably a lot of things out there it might work on. There's a lot of new sort of balance changes and items and stuff to consider. So we'll see where the PowerPoints end up falling in this new preseason 2016 era, I suppose. Anyway, I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching, and I'm off to go stream for a while. So of course, as always, if I've just uploaded a video, you can always check the description below. There's a good chance I'm streaming, since I tend to stream like right after making my video. That's just kind of how my schedule works. But yeah, I'm off to do more preseason 2016 stuff because it's been interesting. There's still a lot of stuff to test. There's just so much. It's cram-packed with so much content that I'm not done with it yet. Almost 2 weeks in since. Has it been 2 weeks? Almost 2 weeks, I think. Anyway, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you around, and of course, description below if you're interested. A link to my stream, twitch.tv/Ponce. Goodbye.